Two thoughts I want to invite you to today. One, to reflect on a moment in time and reflect on your favorite food memory. Reflect on who made this dish for you, how it made you feel. And I want you to close your eyes as you do this and keep this dish in your soul and in your heart through this journey that we're going to take together. Think about this dish. Think about the senses, think about the aroma, think about the feel and the vibe. Who made this dish for you? Were you celebrating a work accolade, family occasion? You can open your eyes, and the second thought I want to invite you to is think about what story this dish was trying to convey. Where'd that recipe originate from? Recipes, they are a vessel, a cultural vessel, crafted through the lens of cooking. It's a very special art form. Recipes tell the history of human stories. Recipes are a gateway to the past, and they are a bridge into the future. Recipes, they have the ability to transcend us in the physical form, the people that created them, and live on for lifetimes and generations. That's a pretty cool, intangible thing that lives in the heart and soul of our families. And the beautiful part about the crafting of recipes is that, in my case, it can become your identity. As kids, we often dream about what our jobs will be when we're grown-ups, what careers we'll choose. And in my case, being a chef, it chose me. In preparing for this talk, I asked my family to each give me an adjective to describe me. They're my closest people. Well, my mom said I'm stubborn. I was a stubborn kid. No, that's fine. My dad said, Nyesha, you are the most creative person I know. I said, wow, thanks, Dad. Love that for me. And my sister, she said, you are complex. And I said, oh, that's interesting, I'm complex. And she said, yeah, you're always thinking about the common denominator and, what does the meaning of life, and asking all these deep questions, which is very, very, very true. She's not wrong. And I have found the answer in my culinary journey, and I believe that food is the common denominator of life. Food has the ability to transcend us, race, religion, all things. It is the connector. Food represents us and identity at the most basic level. Growing up in my households, everyone cooked. My aunts, my uncles, my grandparents, my great-grandparents. And bopping around in these homes as a kid, the memories of these food, they filled my senses, as you have all reflected on dishes that are special to you. I remember to this day, that crunching sound, sitting on the back porch with my grandpa, making hand-churned fresh ice cream on a perfect LA day. I remember the smell of my Aunt Linda's mac and cheese at Thanksgiving and playing with my cousins, throwing the football around. And coming from a diverse background, my mom's side is from Korea and my father's side is from Mississippi, by way of Los Angeles. And having such a robust terroir for me to draw from has inspired my thinking and the way that I approach cooking. My color palette is culture. And my ability to harness the techniques and weave them together to tell a storyline on a plate is what drives me. And it's very unconventional. I get to create things that live in the soul forever. which is pretty special. I realized that as a kid. 5 years old, my grandmother used to pull me into the kitchen every opportunity she got and had me peel garlic, blanch vegetables, and I kind of jokingly say I've been a sous chef since I was 5 years old. So, there's no surprise that I became a chef. I actually used to have a restaurant when I was like 9 and used to make soup for my family and my friends. And my restaurant, I had a name for it called A Plus One Good Restaurant. As a 9-year-old, pretty funny. I went on to culinary school. And the first day I sat in Chef Chapman's class, dead center, they hit me like a ton of bricks, and I knew I was exactly on my path. My stars had aligned, and I was ready for the journey ahead. I went on to work in many fine dining kitchens to create thousands and thousands of recipes, but I'd say one of my greatest creations thus far has been my life recipe. And essentially, I'm going to share with you how I made it. You take equal parts grit and perseverance. You fold in a lot of resilience. You fuel it with ambition. And when self-doubt starts to bubble over, you turn up the dedication. But you cannot ever forget humility. You cannot forget relentlessness. You bake this in an oven of passion at high pressure for your whole entire life. Don't forget it takes blood, sweat, and tears along the way, but the most important ingredient is love and joy, 'cause that's what tastes so sweet. Joy and love is what lives in the soul forever. Food is an energy transfer. The way that I approach cooking is very unconventional. I color outside the lines. I've learned all the parameters just to be able to do that. My first taste at this sort of coloring outside the lines approach was living abroad. I lived in the West Indies at 20 years old, very much trying to figure out myself and adapt to a new way of living. An island of 30,000 people. I mean, it's small. It was very important to me to keep a very open mind in a very vastly different set of circumstances than I was accustomed to in the States. Coming out of years of intense, fast-paced, meticulous fine dining regimen, culture shift going into the islands where you find out that island time is an actual real thing. People don't want to show up, they don't show up. If they don't feel like opening the farmer's market, they don't. And, much respect, live your life. But an amazing experience nonetheless. And I actually ended up starting my own garden there. And one herb that I fell in love with is shadow benny. It has these floral notes of cilantro, and it's just so beautiful. And you find this in the West Indies, but also in Central America. And that tells these sort of origin stories, right? Everything is connected. Identity has been a hybrid dialogue and experience for me. And the best way that I can express what is in my soul to nurture another is through my food and my cooking. Cooking has allowed me the freedom to create my own unique self-expression as an Afro-Korean woman. And to be honest, it's taken me some time to understand that. It's been a journey, and in a pursuit to connect the dots of the human race, it's been my honor to share these recipes and stories with people. After cooking on the line for multiple years, opening and closing 2 acclaimed restaurants in Los Angeles, I've seen a lot and I've experienced a lot. There's been an arc in my culinary journey from when I closed my last restaurant in 2019. One of my biggest personal achievements was finding connectedness with myself after giving so much, right? As a craft can do sometimes. I took off and I traveled the globe, went to country after country, speaking with salt-of-the-earth humans that inspired me to even appreciate and dive more into myself and my heritage. I always wanted to be a chef. I always wanted to share my enthusiasm of life. But I was also enthusiastic about people I looked up to as a kid, like Oprah and Tony Robbins, and remember coming home from school and watching those programs with my mom and thinking like, wow, these people are so inspiring. And now I get to stand on the stage and share my dreams with you is just unreal and a true honor. The ability to reverse engineer a vision is powerful. As I share the story with you today, it's very close to my heart. In my self journey back to me, I transcended my body in one experience while sitting in a tub of ice and water on minute 4. Sitting in a tub of ice and water on minute 4. I felt this sense of peace that I hadn't felt in a long time. I was on day 29 of this like raw food cleanse, and the vision that played in my mind was me watching myself sit on a mountaintop of a lush green landscape, somewhere deep in the Himalayas maybe, I don't know. And I was kind of floating, and I was a drone watching myself sit there in this peace, and you could basically hear a pin drop. And I share that story with you because I remember thinking this connectedness to self is truly what I want to share with people. And it reaffirmed the uniqueness in my vision. And it can spark greatness. There's nothing more powerful when the mind, body, and spirit are connected. The ability to make an intangible thought a reality is the reason why recipes exist. And just like in life, through trial and error and documentation of these recipes, sometimes you end up at the end result that you want through a mistake in the measurements. And sometimes you hit that recipe, bang, first time. But it's the celebration of these recipes with our families and our loved one that make us human, right? As I share that analogy of life with you through the vessel and lens of a recipe. The journey to identity is similar. That was my delicious creation of my soul on a plate. Sweet potato grits, braised short rib of Aisun sauce, which is my grandmother's name. And these are the recipes that are time capsules, right? Where you get to show your identity on a plate. Starting with the ancestors that created them long ago. Heritage, ingredients, they're a celebration of life and identity. Today, I'm going to share with you my story, and thank you for listening. I identify as an Afro-Korean woman, Nyesha Arrington, the explorer, the storyteller, the creative. And my parting message to you, lovely humans, is to ask yourself, how do you identify? And what recipe of life are you creating? Thank you.